Hey y'all, and welcome to part two of the custom data table for the opportunity contact roles. Thank you for everyone on the Salesforce subreddit for giving me your feedback. It's very much appreciated. As you can see, my background is now completely clear of the hanging clothes. All I really did was put them right here just out of view, just FYI, but now you don't have to see my ugly hanging clothes in the background. But yeah, just want to thank the subreddit folks for their feedback. And so, yeah, with that, we'll just continue on with this build out. Where we left off was we created the UI and put it onto the page um, just as a mock-up. And that stopping point was here's the mock-up. I sent it over to the stakeholder, and that's where we left it off. So let's just pretend stakeholder looked at it, says it looks great, awesome. Let's build this bad boy out. So we will continue from there. All right, so here's my HTML. And so now we want to start making this production ready and actually working. So let's first create a list of what we want to do. So I just add my list here. I guess the first thing would be to wire up a component to opportunity record. And then we want to also wire up role picklist values, because we definitely don't want to hard code these picklist values. They can change, they can be deleted, so we want our component to read those dynamically, so our component is always up to date, and we don't have another point of maintenance whenever we change these picklist values. Next, we probably want to wire up the contact roles. And this sort of goes with this one. And then we can start working on functionality. I think update is easiest, so we'll just do update contact role. And then we'll start do the add roles and delete. And that should bring us to the end of our feature. So with that, let's go ahead and do that. So first thing we want to do is wire up the component to the opportunity. Let's just go into our JavaScript. And I guess one thing I should do is create a feature branch to do my work, but it is just me and it's just for demonstration purposes. So I'm just gonna commit on main, but for your particular workflow, it's probably best to just create a feature branch and commit along the way on your feature branch and then merge it back in with the PR. So that was a little bit of an aside, but let's go ahead and add this to our opportunity page. So we have a record ID. I'm not going to look at that in the order, nothing's going to happen. But one thing we want to do is we want to wire up the real contact roles. So we want the contact roles from the database to show up in our component for this particular opportunity. So first thing we need to do is create a server-side controller. I know you could use GraphQL. It just came out, the GraphQL adapter. I just don't like how it looks. It's just very long, and the syntax is just not to my liking. I think it'll confuse developers in the future. So I like just creating the server-side method. It's just a lot cleaner, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's create an Apex class, contact roles edit controller. We're sharing, of course, and we have our @aura enabled, public static. What do we want to return? We want to return a list of opportunity contact roles, get roles, get contact roles, and we want to pass it an opportunity ID. Okay, and so within here, just real simple, select. Okay, that works, except I don't really need the ID. I don't like selecting the ID since that always comes with every single query when you do it in Apex. And another thing I will note here, why did that fail? Oh, dummy. One other thing that I'll note is usually I would have some classes that abstract the database away um, from any from access for my Apex classes. That way we could do some database mocking. We don't have to hit the database for DMLs, and we're actually doing true unit testing. But I think that will slow things down a little bit and make the series a bit longer than I want. So we'll just stick with this. Maybe I'll do another series on mocking in general. But for now, let's just return this, and let's create our test. So op contact rules edit controller test. That's how I name my test, just putting test at the end. Obviously, if the Apex class name is a bit longer than is allowed, then I'll have to shorten it out in case it runs into the character limit for the class name. For my tests, I like to make them private since no other class should be accessing these. And again is test static void test get. Yeah, all right, so this is simple. Let's just go ahead and do that. I like to name it should get contact rules. Sort of like the how testing frameworks do it. So let's go ahead and get those. So we will first have to create an opportunity, insert a contact. That looks good. Add the contact role, insert the contact role. And yeah, okay, this looks fine, I think. So we have the op. I think certain other fields are required. Prospecting and close date. Date today, sure. Insert the contact, and the contact role will have the op, contact, the role, and its primary. Okay, so then I think that works, and then I could just contact role. Yeah, let's do that. Always add your asserts in your test. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. And it passed, yay. So I think we are good on this controller, so let's go ahead and commit our controller code and contact roles edit controller and test. And then from there we can add that Apex class and wire it up. Wire, and then we got get contact roles, and we have an opportunity ID, and we pass it the record ID. And I personally don't like just assigning it to a variable like this, because this thing isn't really the contact rules. It has, a data element, and it also has an error element. Not element, but attribute, I guess. So it's not really the contact rules. It's the result of it's the result of this method of getting the contact rules. So I actually just like pass it, get contact roles. And I don't like doing this else if, because there are certain times where data and error are both null. They can't both be true at the same time, so I just like doing it that way. I guess the else if is fine. I think it just adds a little bit of extra clutter, but not a huge deal. Right, so we need contact rules up here. Let's default that. And if data, then this dot contact rules dot data, I think, but we'll find out. And here we'll just do a console.error. For now. Why? What is wrong with this? Oh. Okay, so that didn't quite save yet because we had this. And another thing I like about using a method to process the results of the wire is, you could just do console.logs, right? You can't do that if you just assign it directly. So yeah, just see what data we get, and let's remove all these contact rows that we hard coded. You're going next, buddy, but one step at a time. Okay, so I have my org open. Go to opportunities. Go to my jets, and nothing is showing up. Why? Oh, oops. Forgot about that. Contact rules controller. Cacheable. Let's go to true. And let's refresh. What now? Okay, let's do a hard reload. There we go. Great. And I think Malachi Corley's role doesn't show up because I picked a role that is not within my pick list. Good. Okay, so this looks great. And we can see our data here. Contact is primary role. Perfect. All right, so that just works. Okay, so we could get rid of this. And we have this and this. Okay, so let's just go ahead and commit this. So wire add wire method to get contact roles from these. All right, next. Let's get these roles dynamically. So for this, I'm going to add another wire here. And this will be get picklist values. I don't think that's right. Let's see here. Get picklist values LWC. Record type and field API name. Okay, so I know that our contact roles does not have a default record type, I don't think. So we could just use this. And then the other column, or sorry, the other parameter that we need is this field API name. So let's go ahead and grab that. API name. And this will be opportunity contact role. Opportunity contact role dot role. So that's the field API name. I don't like using these magic strings as much as possible, so let's actually go ahead and do the import. I believe I can do this by just doing like role. I think if I do that, I get this. So the reason I did it, obviously use role is wrong, but that way the import just shows up automatically here, and then I could easily modify it versus me having to remember, where this import is from. So this will be the contact. I'll just call it role field. And we change this to opportunity contact role dot role. And then down here, change this to role field. Okay, and then we want another method to process those picklist values. Let's get picklist values. Yes. Okay, let's get rid of these roles. And we have the roles up top here, I think, to make it reactive. And let's actually do a console.log data to see what goes in here. All right, let's go ahead and See if that works. Okay, none of the roles came in. Well, it looks like it is coming in. We have all of these values, but then the array is not in the shape that we want it. We only need label and value. We don't need attributes or valid for. I think that's probably what's causing it. So here, my favorite method, array method in JavaScript. Role options is probably the better name. Is the map method. So this will transform every element of the array to whatever we put into the function that you pass in, and you just do a return, and you'll get a new array with the transform data or the map data. Hence the name, the map method. So this data variable currently holds an array where every array has an object of this shape, right? It has attributes, label, valid, for, and value. We just want label and value. So the easiest way to do this is, let's see, so we have the data, we just do a map, and this will be, well, first of all, this should be role options. Type. And it's data, right? And what I want to do is I want to return, yes, that's what I want to do. But this should not be data. This should be, what would each of these be? Value, option, role option, role picklist, role picklist value. I feel like that's probably the best naming here. Picklist value and role picklist value. Okay. All right. So I hope you all see what I'm doing here. I'm taking this data element, which is an array of this shape. I'm passing each element into my function here, which this map method takes. And this function is just going to take the label and the value and basically create a new object, return it, and so then I get a new array with just the stuff that I return. Yeah. I would definitely research the map method and any other array iteration methods just for your own understanding, especially when you're developing LWCs, you will use them a lot. Right, so this should work. So let's find out. Okay, did not work. T.map is not a function. Because I have data dot values. Okay, right. So this data is actually this shape here, and I need to then access the values within that. So data dot values. Okay. Okay, now this should work. Great. No, not great. Why are you not working? Data.values. Let's print out what role options. Oh, because I need to also change roles to role options. Role options. Let's try this again. Voila. Okay, there we go. And we have all of the roles available. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit that. Oh, one other thing, I really don't like this thing hard-coded in here, since based on the documentation, this this particular ID is used as the master record type for any object that doesn't have a default record type. I think we can store this somewhere. So let's create a new Lightning component. We can name this as object utils, record type utils. Let's just call it record type utils. Or picklist utils? No, record type utils. Or const, record type, maybe just record type. I don't know. Record type constants? Naming is so hard. So this thing will hold any constants, right? So let's just do constants. And we don't need any of this. We're not extending from a Lightning element. We're just gonna, this is just a regular JavaScript file. So we're gonna put our const in here. So master record type ID. I hope that's right. Is that right? Let's just copy and paste it just to make sure. Okay. Record type ID was this. And we want to export this. So this is just like creating an Apex class separately, naming it record type constants, and then you're going to have a bunch of public, static, final, whatever in there, and then you could access that in other files. This export keyword will allow you to do the same thing, so then I can now bring this particular ID into any other file that I have. So with that, I could just do this. Master, there we go, master record type ID. So you see that the auto completion has brought this in, but you know, this is wrong. It's not going to work. So Salesforce, for Salesforce, you just have to do it like that. That's just something you just have to know. It doesn't care about the folder structure, but it gets you 90% of the way there, and you just have to modify it. Okay, and I also like ordering these a little bit different. I probably would order like these type of imports last. Anything that's not a default import, I put up here, and then all these I do put it alphabetically. Not really necessary, but it just looks cleaner. I think if you have some dev guidelines or coding standards, you can add those in there if you want. Okay, so now that that's done, let's just refresh and make sure that it still works. Great, still works. And let's get rid of our console.log because we don't need it anymore. And we can also go here and get rid of our tests. We also don't need the HTML. I am very aggressive when it comes to deleting files that I don't need, as you can see. It makes the code base cleaner. The PRs are much easier to read. So I would recommend doing that. We don't need the HTML file here because we're not showing anything on the UI for this one. So we're down to 4 files that we've modified. And so now we could add role picklist drop down. Add role picklist. Add dynamic role. Get role options dynamically from database. I don't know. Commit messages are also hard. All right, so I think we had that, and I think maybe before we do any the DML operations, let's go ahead and refactor this so that each of these rows are in its own child component. All right, I think we're at that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new Lightning component. Let's call it op contact role row, I guess. Contact role row. I think makes sense. And we could go ahead and save this, and we will need an API here for contact role. All right, we want to bring that whole thing in. And then we want to go ahead and copy or cut from here all the way to here. Right, everything that's in the table row. So let's just cut this and put it in here. And we don't need this key since it's no longer in a loop. And I think we could just save this as is. Okay. And then here we could do C. Oh, what happened? What happened? C op contact roll row. And we want yes and yes. Okay. Contact roll. How does it know? How do you know, Super Maven? That's insane. Okay. Okay, let's just see how that looks. I know this is going to work. I know everything is going to be within one column smushed together. Okay, well, there's some errors here. Reading name. All right, so what is this name that they're referring to? Contact role.name. Yeah, because I don't have a name. Okay, that's concerning. No contact ID. Contact role.contact ID. That definitely should be there. Contact role. Oh, we call this contact role here. So let's be consistent. Since that's what we have been using. So we'll call this contact role. And we will call this contact role. Yeah, so everything is contact role. So we'll just call it like that. And then let's go ahead and refresh. Perfect. All right, the roles we aren't passing this down yet. I don't think we should, by the way. But as you can see, everything is under the contact column heading. So I've run into this issue before. I have the Stack Exchange question saved to my account, but the way that I saw this was just Googling it, right? So I guess I'll try to Google this. So I did like LWC custom. Yeah, okay. So I did do this search recently prior to this video because I know I've run into this issue. So yeah, just like I have an LWC custom table, I have a child component, I have a row and column. I just started putting in a bunch of words that sort of made sense. Table, child component, row in one column. Where are you? Where are you? Huh. I guess it changed. Smushed in one column. Wow. It's no longer there, huh? All right. Well, good thing I saved this within my Salesforce Stack Exchange. Okay. So I had this saved. Here we go. Table body call span. Now, for those that don't have this saved, I don't know, just you got to continue Googling until you find it. There's going to be something out there. So this guy's having the same problem, or this gal is having the same problem. Yeah, so the solution here is that you need to display the child component as if it was a table row. So contact roles edit, no, contact role row. So let's go ahead and delete our test, of course. New file op contact role row.css, add that CSS in. And So this makes your browser treat the custom element as if it were a TR element. And so you don't need the actual TR in the custom components template. So we can go ahead and remove that. So we're not working with that now. So let's get rid of TRs. And auto formatting will take care of our formatting. And so if I refresh here, then our rows should match up with the columns. Great. Our child component columns will match up with the header columns. So now we got to move the role picklist value retrieval to the row as well. I think it belongs there. I know some people will probably say put it up here, but I think this parent component should really hold the application data that needs to be manipulated, and it just doesn't feel right to pass down like role options in here. It's just that doesn't feel right. I think it's a smell. And if you're worried about each of these particular child components going to the server and querying the role options, I think the framework will take care of that so that it only calls it one time. So that's the way I would start, and then if things start slowing down, then maybe we can push it up to the top. But I think we want to go for a simple code and having our logic in the correct place first, where it makes sense from a human perspective, and if it's needed from a technical perspective to move it elsewhere, then we do it at that time. Let's not prematurely optimize. Okay, so I am going to move this over to this. This actually do this so it's easier. Oh wait, not the HTML, sorry, JavaScript. And of course we need the wire. And we need to get picklist values, so let's go ahead and move that over. And we need this master record type ID, and we need the role field. And look at that, the parent component looks much cleaner now without that. And get rid of some of these spaces. And role options should be up here. Role options, yes. Great. So that seems to work. Okay, so we're coming up on 30 minutes. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I think we've accomplished a bunch here with making things dynamic and just getting our row into a child component. So let's go ahead and commit our work and call it a day. Oh, yes, I should probably save this. So refactor row content will go into child component. Okay, so I think we'll call it a day with this one. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned some stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.